jiffy, you have the party jumping. Look, everybody on the dance floor gyrating. But let me warn you, this party is whole night, no rest for you. We jamming till daylight. Yo, soca parang on me mind, the sweetest music at Christmas time. I want to wine and jam, play the soca parang. Soca parang on me mind, the sweetest music at Christmas time. I want to wine and jam, play the soca parang. Jam the music, Christmas music. Jam the music, let me taste the sweetness. Soca parang on me mind, the sweetest music at Christmas time. I want to wine and jam, play the soca parang. Soca parang on me mind, the sweetest music at Christmas time. I want to wine and jam, play the soca parang. Play it! Aye!
I met a mister from Margarita, and he wanted to take me to dinner. I said dinner will be fine, but now it's Christmas time, and my table is well prepared, so I'll take you to my home instead. I'll give him bread and ham together with a pasty.
Yes indeed, yes indeed. I thought we should, just savor a bit. Just relax a bit. And just be entertained a bit. And just be placid a bit. Yes indeed. There's no other time than Christmas. And of course, just as in Guyana, and I'm not pitching Guyana's narrative in accident, I'm saying that Trinbagonians are smart enough to go there to invest because they have less than 1 million people with huge potential wealth and resources that we must, of course, capitalize for our own citizens. After all, the present government has laid the foundation. Never before. Yes, indeed. So let's enjoy, of course, our CARICOM brother or sister. Music. Of course, the genre adopted from Trinidad.
Chutney dancing, drinking ginger beer, jumping, winding up the boomsy in and out. Sneaking in the kitchen to see what grandma cooking, putting something hot inside me mouth. Ow! There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning. Garlic pork and black fruit cake baking. Plenty sorrel and mobby, ice apple and enough sweet tea. Spending we Christmas in Guyana. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Hey, Captain Paul, how black eye boy?
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all at Century, East, West, South Central, or Friends of Tobago. And wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web, a pleasant good day to you. I hope Joshua will go closer to the microphone so we'll hear him. Some people are complaining that they are not hearing him clearly, and that is because they're hearing him low. There's no need to take it out. What you need to do is to get closer, all right? So that you don't have any, what I consider to be hand disturbance, hand distraction. All right? Right, but that being as it may, of course, this is the Saturday night edition of the Corridor Transformation. And I want to tell you some good news, some very good news. Today, both Andy and I, from the ground report, we went and we took some pictures and so on for promotion purposes at the TTT. Yes, at TTT. We will be back at TTT 91.1. And in addition to that, we will be on Channel 4 television as well. The ground report I'm talking about. And well, you would have seen that I took a little, what I consider be grooming. Yes. To look a little more presentable. If that was not the case, or if there was some improvement to be made from where I was before, well, of course, you would now see it on the advertisement or the promotion of the ground report on TTT, and of course the various sister channels as well as radio that are part and parcel of the TTT family. Yes, Andy and myself would have been there today, and we had a wonderful time indeed, taking pictures and etc., photo opportunities and so on. So we will be there from the first, from the first, I should say, Monday of the new year, January 2026. So look forward to that. We have already, of course, you would have appreciated that we would have signed contracts, etc., in order to make that happen, because that doesn't happen in a vacuum or in a VAPS or without structure, right? So look forward to that, as I said. But of course, in terms of homegrown, in terms of course the corridor transformation, in terms of Laventille outreach for vertical enrichment, in terms of the transformation along the east-west corridor, well, we couldn't miss an opportunity, man. So our team in the east-west corridor, the east-west corridor transformation, the east-west corridor, I should say, league. Yeah, we have a team, man. We have a team. Let me just make sure that we have it there. Let me say, what's happening? Why am I not getting it? All right, it's something there. We'll get it. We'll get it. Let me make sure that nothing goes wrong at this point in time. Right, good. So let's see if we could get it now. Yes, indeed. Let's see if we can get it now. Right, good. So we have it now. So there we have it, just behind Joshua's head. Yes. We have, of course, the first practice, I should say, not match, but practice that we had only yesterday, last night, at the Barataria grounds. And maybe we should give you an appreciation. Why that is so? Why are we doing that? Well, I can tell you, it is consistent. It is constant as the northern star. That come hell or high waters, the belief that the communities along the east-west corridor, mainly occupied by the African community, can transform itself and can do much better than the general society perceive it to be. And so those of us who believe must do all that is required in order to achieve that transformation, or put another way, attitudinal change. They have the capacity to produce, they have the capacity to be as equal to any citizen in this country, academically, culturally, artistically, and otherwise. That is what we know and believe. After all, it was a community along the east-west corridor, Laventille, that gave the country its national culture, steel band and calypso, mass, and of course, carnival. Don't forget that. Don't forget the Cambule riots right at the corner, not too far from here, of Piccadilly Street and Prince Street. Cambule riots, because the authorities at the time wanted to stop carnival. And we said no. I think a police was killed. Just as how they tried to stop, of course, Uriah Buzz Butler where we now call, of course, the Uriah Bus Butler Junction, because of a fundamental change or the commencement or the initiation or the nascent stage of a transformation. In the case of Butler, it would have been, of course, advocating for the labor movement and the rights of workers to get a fair share or fair piece of the national pie. Having been part of the four elements that is considered to be part of production. Production has four elements: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Yeah. But it's human beings we are talking about. And therefore, if these operations, if these initiatives is to improve human conditions and well-being, then clearly they must redound to the advancement of the human being. But that is enough. We have Joshua with us tonight. And he was a bit under the weather a couple of days, but I thought I will of course engage him in any academic exercise. He has enough of that during the course of this holiday. He's going to be more academic. He is more preparing for the reopening of school at this time when school is closed. Let me repeat. He will be preparing for the reopening of school. We have already agreed, and the agenda is set. And I think you too. Because see, I remember some time ago, I never said this, I think, I said it maybe once or twice on this or other programs. That you see, and I said I would tell it one day because he is getting older. You see, I used to come fight up for second to last. I tried to be the fella that not come last in tests. When I was at the Hawkins Baptist Primary School in my growing up. And I couldn't conceive what education was about. Why was I there? And so to me, I was living in a kind of vacuum, a kind of what I consider to be uninformed, because nobody was there to tell me. My parents, they were not academically inclined or put another, to be nice to them, but if I want to be raw, I have to say that they were illiterate and innumerate. Can't read, can't write, and of course, enumerate is a relative term because they could have checked too bad when coming to the business because they used to sell in the market, and of course, my father used to drive trucks. Yeah. So, entering secondary school was a mystery for me. I didn't even know how I reached there. And at one time, I ain't ashamed to say it, we did a French paper. And when the teacher asked, handed it back to me, he said, when next nature give you a call, use that. That's how bad I did it. Well, of course, for those of you who understand what he said, well, use it for toilet paper. First I got things wrong. But that same man I lived to see, because he ended up moving from teaching into the customs, and he was a big twatty in the customs. And he met me one day after, of course, I founded the Mobile Habitat Improvement Organization and the teaching and the school and all of that. And he said, Mr. Smith, I commend you, Mr. Smith. Well done, Mr. Smith. I wish I was you. All of that was said by him. The fellow name was Gittins. Gittins, if you are still alive, welcome. And of course, those words that you said, when next nature give you a call, use it, was motivation for me. This is so when my father said, when we were delivering goods at the central market, as I said, he's had trucks and we would go early in the morning, 4 o'clock, and take off, in those days, take off the peas and the plums and the bags of other items, dashing and so on, from the boat from Tobago. That time Tobago was, of course, a rye. It was saturated with agricultural produce and was feeding Trinidad. And so chenet and plums and all of that was part and parcel of the cargo that was, or the goods that was brought to Trinidad. And we were the transporters from the wharf to the central market for, of course, the transaction in terms of sales and the meeting place where buyers and the sellers will meet. So on this day, my father asked me to move up a basket, a huge basket. I'm what, about 14 years of age, 12 years of age, 14 years of age. And he said, and the lady said, well, listen, but Smith, how you can let them young fellas lift up that? He turned and said, well, they ain't learning nothing in school, so that's what they have to do for their living. Again, that resonated with me. And I said, you see me? I am going to prove my father wrong. Sometimes, of course, you have parents like that who would criticize, who would tell you at every turn. Look, I've not seen Joshua's test results, but I told him, even though we were pushing and insisting, I told him, once I'm satisfied that you did your best, that's all that's required. And if it is that you did not come out on the top of the class or somewhere close there, no big thing. There are opportunities, since of course C exam is some time away, to remedy that. And once you are conscious and you are dealing with what daddy is saying and so on, I'm sure that at the end of the day, he will, because he has an advantage that I didn't have. My parents, even though they were saying that I ain't learning at this school, and of course I had to lift a basket for my living, the fact is that they couldn't help me in spite of that. The difference with Joshua, however, is that I can help him, and I will damn well help him. That being as it may, of course, let me introduce Joshua one time. Good night, Joshua, and how are you feeling today? I know that things have not been as good as you would like, but I know that you know that daddy loves you, you know that mommy loves you, you know that the family loves you, and as I said, I ain't openly test results yet, but whatever it is, I am certain that you would have done your best, and if that it wasn't good enough, then we go again. Good night, Joshua.
Good night, everybody.
Loud.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, what was it? What? Wait, what? Let it go on. He had this money project. He had this money project. I don't know. He's a true businessman, you know. He going up a businessman. I tell you, what shall I see? I don't like it, but these days I'm gravitating to it because maybe I learned it from him. Go ahead. What do you say tonight?
Well, it had 3 different governors. For each of the 100, it had 3 different governors.
All right.
You can see all of the signatures are different. One mark up in like, well, the fact is they have all different governors, right? It's a two old 100 and one new 100. Well,
Yeah, but give us a little background for those of you, those persons who don't know and they have not been following. I know Mr. Sanigradi, for example, will know what he's talking about. But just tell us that venture that you have created as an entrepreneur, a person who, of course, identifies a business opportunity and it's just in his brain, but then he manifests it, and next thing you know, it grew from a idea to, of course, a product or a service, and then, of course, it makes money. So just tell us what the background to that $100 you're talking about, and those three different governors that would have signed. Governors of the central bank we're talking about.
if this was new money, you would not see it in my hand. You would not see it someplace else. But I wasn't showing this if this was new money.
So what's the business model? What's the business model that you
Well,
developed?
I have old money and I have new money. There's the money that, but this is the money that I save up to show all you, and this is the money that's the old money. This is the old money.
Oh, so you make money?
Yep.
Oh, so
I make money, I still have daddy for money.
is you have there? You have there? But of course, the business model, people, is that he would ask people, and some people actually came to the studio, actually came to the empowerment center, and donated their old cut notes to Joshua. Just imagine that. Or if when he wasn't here because he was in school, they said, well, this is for Joshua. Somebody brought about three $100 bills to the old guy, because the business model is the business model is that he would sell to tourists and those persons who want to keep these old dollars as souvenir, and therefore that's a business for him. There's some people who, I mean, you gotta be totally stupid to believe that somehow that is something other than a business venture. It's a business venture. And let me tell you this. I looked it up, you see, so I could talk with authority. There are people who collect stamps. There are people who collect old stamps, old monies and so on. There's a particular name for them. It's slipping now, but the fact is that they do that, and then they exchange it, they sell it, because people want to know what was the stamp and what it was looking like maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe in some medieval time, and they will pay top dollar for these stamps, right? So Joshua's business model is the same. But go ahead, I just thought I would make that interjection. Go ahead, Joshua. I don't want to take away your...
If you don't mind, ma'am, I tell about a museum down here.
Yeah, there is a museum, but it is under construction now, and that is opposite Memorial Park. You know where Memorial Park is? Yeah, of course you know where Memorial Park is. That is next to the no, not on that side. It's next to the let me see. Yeah, close to Savannah. Close to Savannah. Yeah, that's the best place.
Park Street.
Up Frederick Street, but next to Napa, the National Academy for the Performing Arts. Yeah, it's next to it. It's before it. When you're going north.
Where the prison is on that side?
Right, the prison first, and then you go further up, because remember, Frederick Street is a long street. So if you're walking, you have to go up until you be the square. You know the square? Right, that square is called Memorial Park. Memorial Park. And then opposite that, right there itself, is the what? What you asking me about?
The park.
No, you asked me for what? You asked me for what?
Museum.
A museum, that's right. The museum.
Yeah,
The
but-
National Museum.
Yeah, but the prison is before the park. No, the prison is after the park.
The prison after the park if you are going south. But if you are walking up, it is before the park. See? Yeah, traffic, against the traffic. Yeah. Anything else that you want to share with us? You want to ask anybody with old money
Yeah. Anybody have old money? $100, $5, $50, $100, anything? Which is these old things, these old got notes. So that's it.
Yes.
You can please donate.
So you want you to donate, he not buy it, right? And then he will sell it. That's good business because it happens in the environmental field, you know. People, because of their the environmental consciousness, and want to clean up the environment, want sustainable, let's say, development. They would voluntarily gather plastics and paper and so on, and voluntarily drop it off at places that will collect it, and then of course package it and export it for money. So this model is tried and tested. Anything else you want to add?
It's hard. I was on YouTube. I was on TikTok or YouTube, right?
Okay.
Had this man, right?
Yeah.
Who was owing somebody money now.
Yeah, make sure I'm talking to the mic, yeah,
So
because
he was owing him $200.
Uh-huh.
Here we do. He do 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Then after he turn the money over and say 120, 140, 100.
well, that's skullduggery. That's not a genuine one, but of course, it could provoke a good laugh. All right, anything else you want to share with us? What about how you feeling?
Kinda sick.
All right, and what you're looking at in terms of the holidays? What you plan to do for the holidays? Of course, and I invite other kids as well, and maybe parents to find out from their kids what they want to do. But more importantly, you have to guide them as to what to do. As what I will do, I'm saying that whatever work that is deficient in his test, he has to cover that, and then we go forward as well. But that it varies from parent to parent, family to family, student to student, and of course the will of the actual children. But go ahead, let me hear what you want to do.
I want to go to the museum.
Okay.
I want to go and try and do some service in the museum and see if I can walk out with more money than this.
All right, so you want to what? You're going to ask them
I
to
wanna
collect for you?
I want to sell it to the museum.
Oh, you want to sell it to the museum?
I'm hoping
You want to go and do business? All right,
I'm
yeah.
hoping that I get a few new hundreds, and plus two, I'm hoping that I get some US money.
All right, okay.
I want to get some US money.
All right, well, in exchange for those old monies.
Yep.
I see. All right, so he's targeting, of course, so he tried to contribute, of course, to the economy because, we have a acute shortage of US dollars. So I suppose he is part and parcel of the non-oil or non-energy sector where, of course, the government is asking that they contribute to the acquisition or the earning of foreign exchange. So Joshua's idea of a business model selling old currency, Trinidad and Tobago cut notes, has taken another stage, another trajectory, and that is, of course, to offer it to tourists, I suppose, and those persons who are interested that may have in their possession US dollars. So you want to convert some of them to US dollars in terms of business purchase, in terms of buying, in terms of the business model that we have seen expressed by, of course, Joshua. Anything else?
I just hoping that I get some US money.
All right, we'll get it. All right.
You know how much money I would get if I just only get US money? $1 in US is $7 here. So if I only change all his money, I might have well, maybe like, I'm not gonna say over 1,000. Maybe like exactly 1,000 or 500,000. I just hope it. I just need it.
All right. Well, make a plea again to the audience to deposit and where to deposit their old cut notes so that you can attempt to get them sold so that you can continue with your business
I
plan.
can say the address. I'm
Go ahead.
gonna say the address out.
Yeah, go ahead, yes.
So if you want to donate, you could just donate at 55 George Street. This is the kind of place that the gates kind of yellow and green and a little white gate on the side.
And where is that?
55 George Street.
55 George Street, all right. All right? That's it?
Number.
Okay.
Anyways,
Yeah, go ahead, Joshua.
I just need some US money. I never, I see US money once or twice before.
Okay.
Anyways,
So you need some US money. All right, okay. You need some US money customers. I hear you. All right, that's it. All right, make your departure because we have to go to big people business now.
but when I told tonight, I have to see one night.
No, not whole night at all tonight.
Why? I
Because
don't come back home today.
Maya is not here.
Because man, now here I can't come home. But look how it was going on, Maya wasn't here.
Yeah, but we have some serious business and we have to take some serious developments.
Maya wasn't
We
here.
have, of course, the situation with crime and narcotics being, of course, discovered, and all of the other political issues in Tobago,
Bye.
etc. All right.
Hmm.
See you, sir. See you later. All right. Bye bye. Yeah, people, because the line is open. You can make your calls now. 337-6940. Only WhatsApp. 339-6940. Only WhatsApp. And yes, indeed, of course, we have, as I said, we only today we did the shoot. Well, should I say, taking the pictures, the photos for the promos with respect to our return to 91.1, the TTT, and of course, in addition to in Channel 4, the TV channel where you'll be able to get the ground report. Andy and I were there, but as you know, the chairman of TTT now is, of course, our very own Michael Kerr, which would have been part and parcel, but out of an abundance of caution and out of not being accused of conflict of interest, he will, yes, be from time to time guesting on the program, but not a regular feature on the program, to avoid, of course, and avert the opposition, because the PNM will be alert and they will be, of course, concerned, even though in a self-righteous indignation, sudden inclination. All right? Yeah, they have that audacity and that proclivity to be ostentatiously hypocritical. Ostentatiously hypocritical. Yes, that is what they are. Because, of course, you remember that in the early days, Rowley had said that, of course, he criticized the ground report for being on 91.1 and said it's a Trinidad and Tobago government station, and here it is that they were criticizing him. calling him a rapist and a pedophile, and of course bringing his mother and father into the whole process, which of course the latter two would have been a lie. We never spoke about Rowley's mother and father. We always speak about him and his licentious and of course what I consider to be sexually opportunistic, predatorial disposition. Let me repeat. Opportunistic, predatorial disposition. That is what he was. And we continue to say so. Because he has never challenged it. He keeps saying, well, I didn't want to say anything because it's par for the course and it's politics and so on. But it is convenient because when it is convenient as well, he said, I want to claim a name. And I am not what people are saying that I am. We have seen that too often not to be aware of the level of deception, the level of hoodwinking, the level of circumlocutive talk, without, of course, any iota of defense against some serious allegations that has no time bar as far as criminal conduct is concerned. That is one of those acts of criminal behavior that the system of criminal justice would see as so offensive that there should be no time bar. I'm talking about rape and, of course, pedophilism. Rape and pedophilism. And that is what Rowley was accused of. But that being as it may, what a métier impartial. Yes, indeed. So we have to put things in perspective. But as I said, the line is open. Trying to get, of course, the monitor in studio going. I see Joshua has somehow been able to to disconnect, because I'm not seeing anything on the system. Disconnect us, but let's go again, because I want to make sure that every iota of what we are saying tonight is recorded. Okay, let's get back there. Right, good. Yes, indeed. Yes. So people, there are several developments that have taken place in recent times. The Prime Minister has said categorically that the raid, and of course given credence and justification to the radar system that was, of course, should I say, rejected, attracted concern. Of course, concomitant or in conjunction with those persons who have had a field day on the whole question of this amorphous, this elusive, this delusion called the Caribbean being a zone of peace. And what has happened really is that they were distressed by the fact that the present Prime Minister, by way of circumstance not created by her or the government, but by criminal elements that in spite of the presence of the American forces in the southern Caribbean Sea, have been engaged in what is called a cartel warfare and the blowing up of several vessels, resulting in over 80-something persons being killed. The fact of the matter is that Kamala Prasad Bisesa, Prime Minister of this country, Honorable, can now stand tall, can now stand vindicated, because the radar has been able to assist in the detecting of illicit drugs in Deep South and indeed in central Trinidad, Caroni Swamp. The first, I think, is off Point 14. They're about 50-something tons. Or put it another way, no, not 50-something tons, but 50-something million in worth. And in the case of the Caroni Swamp discovery or haul, $171 million. $171 million. What greater vindication? What greater approval that the decision taken by this government to have deployed these instruments, these mechanisms, these devices, so as to get rid of, so as to detect that amount in terms of value, monetary value, amount of narcotics or illegal drugs coming into Trinidad. But there's another development that is taking place. I think, of course, Mr. Diego Martin would have mentioned it, and if he didn't, it might have been remiss of him so to do, or it would have been by sheer accident. But what is coming to the fore is that those persons, or that segment of the country that Rowley call 1%, and were untouchables, and were given accolades of upright and decent and infallible citizens, are now coming to the fore. I cast no aspersion, only to say that it is an observation. Friends and fishermen of the sea, Gary Aboud, his visa was taken away. You had, of course, the kidnapping on Monas Island. We expressed and we explained and we, should I say, using a mathematical or a statistical term, disaggregate, but really and truly decouple is the proper word. Decoupled the situation where how come these people are now being exposed when at one time Rowley and they saw them as upright and decent and, of course, contributing citizens, in fact, captains of industry. How come? And today, because of the Americans' presence and what they have done, we are seeing some scenarios unfolding, people getting kidnapped, visa being withdrawn. What's the pattern of behavior? What's the pattern of conduct? It is called, in, of course, policing and law enforcement terms, modus operandi. Modus operandi. I just say to you to pay attention, pay acute attention as to these developments. You see, because what is going to happen, and I'm talking here now from personal experience. Some time ago, in another iteration of non-PNM administration, a team from Laventil went to the offices of the organization that is supposed to be governing industry and commerce, business community in Westmoreland. And I remembered very distinctly that one of the senior Syrian, what I consider to be magnates in this country, or representative of one of the magnates in this country, that because his family owned, clearly Syrian oriented. And the issue of the Hindu Credit Union came up at the time. They did not yet go under. But I remember them saying to us, when we said that, we have to visit, or we have to still get something, or we have to still be acknowledged by the Hindu Credit Union, I remember one of them saying that, listen, watch in a couple of years' time how that will flounder, how that will go under, how that will be destroyed. And in the passage of time, that really occurred. It really occurred. And it occurred when the PNM was in government. It occurred when the PNM was in government. And there is another issue that I would want to bring to your attention so that you could put this puzzle together and at the end of the day come up with the picture that is and was, of course, at one point in time a mystery, an enigma. One has to ask the question whether or not the paucity of our borders, the paucity of our borders, the porous borders that Trinidad and Tobago would have been exposed to, in spite of the 11 Damien vessels bought by the previous UNC government under this very same Kamala Prasad Bisesa, now Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Honorable. Whether it was deliberate, whether it was orchestrated. And it brings another issue to the fore, the OPVs. And whether the OPVs could have, would have manifest what the PNM said it would have. Because remember on Thursday, I did say that the PNM have this proclivity, this tendency, this predilection to identify things that would have been to be. You know what I say? Would have been to be. And claim success. But when those things that at one time would have been to be, and they actually implemented, it turned out to be consummate and absolute and abject failure. And of course, I mentioned the blimp, I mentioned, of course, the 360 degrees radar that they set up under money. I am saying all of that to say that there was very valid and very active and very vociferous and very dynamic discourse about the non-deployment of the 11 Damien vessels that ostensibly was to protect and to police our maritime borders, we being an island. And an island, of course, as all those, including Joshua, would know. I'm sure if I bring him back here and I ask him what's an island, he will say it's a piece of land surrounded by water, and that Australia, even though it's a continent that is supposed, a continent generally is not supposed to be totally surrounded by water, but of course is the only exception, and therefore it is an island continent, Australia. But the fact of the matter is that these Damien vessels that was bought by a previous UNC Kamala Prasad iteration in terms of the government and under the Rowley administration between 2015 and the 28th of April, and it was only in the extreme latter part of their inevitable and ultimate kicking out by the electorate of this group of what I consider to be rapscallions. Yes, I said it on the campaign trail, I said it outside, I said it inside, etc. So you know, whatever. Rapscallions. Inside, and let me go further, inside of this criminal enterprise called the PNM. Criminal enterprise. And we have to ask the question whether it was orchestrated, whether it was choreographed, whether it was deliberate, whether it was conscious, whether it was by way of policy slipshoddedness. Yeah, slipshoddedness. That the non-functionality or the non-functioning of these Damien vessels to protect our maritime borders were deliberately non-engaged. Deliberately non-engaged. And the question is why? Why? Well, I submit to you and in spite of the efforts in the twilight of that administration to try to fix and to provide fuel to these vessels, because they realized that it was a political issue that would tarnish their chances at being re-elected. Rowley having pulled out because he sensed the inevitable demise, making the argument that he is not the one to, of course, go out of politics feet first, meaning that in a coffin. But that too became a lie when, of course, he has called press conferences to talk about political issues in the draws of his retirement. Yes, people, we have to be eclectic, we have to be analytical. But let's go to the line. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the
Lennox
corridor.
Smith.
Yes, pleasant good night.
Pleasant good night to you, Mr. Lennox Smith. You hear me loud and clear?
Loud and clear, my friend. Loud and clear.
So I any kind of break up, but let me
Alright,
see if I
just-
could make my speech here while you and everybody else listening.
Alright.
I will just stop because I can barely hear you.
Okay.
So
All right, okay. Are you hearing me better now? Are you hearing me better now?
yes, I hear you better now.
All right, go
Lovely.
ahead, my friend. Sorry about that. Yes.
Right. So Lennox, let me go back to memory lane.
Yes.
2-3 years ago, remember I used to be calling a program and tell you that we need to get help from outside source or outside entity where our criminal empire that Rowley and them created when them was in office.
Yes, I
That we
remember
have to
that very distinctly. And from time to time, of course, I'll ask you to go to the top of the class for being so prophetic. Go ahead.
But then I just always tell people, it's that people go say, boy, some of these TV shows and them is fantasy or people imagination. But when you sit down and you take in certain TV series, it make you wonder. These people end up be hiding things in plain sight. Because they say people want to hide something, hide it in plain sight. And I'd be paying attention to some TV shows where I'd be watching lately. Shows where I ignore for years and I started to take a look at it and I say, but wait now. But if the technology is so high, how come in Trinidad we so far behind? Why it is the PNN government have been in office so long? And because the thing is, these ministers and them in the PNM, they just travel a lot, like kick you out. And you telling me you don't be going in different countries and you can't take a page or two from these countries and they may visiting and try and see if you can make sure that they go a better place. Lennox, check this out, right? Monday gone. I end up sending her $500 for the hamper drive, right?
Okay.
Right. So I just also look my little page and thing on the road. You know what is I did on that day? I had a free for all for everybody that traveled my car that day. Everybody traveled my car paid $0 and 0 cents.
Right.
And people will ask me, you know, what make me do, why do it? And I just tell them, I say, let me tell you something. I say, see, this life where we live in, everything that we fighting to own, we own it not. Because this vehicle that I drive and I dead and gone today or tomorrow, somebody is going to inherit it. You understand? The clothes on my back, I just temporarily using it. You understand? And I like even go so far and tell the passengers and them, as if all in trouble in my car, I cannot get paid. So I basically tell them all the thanks for traveling in my vehicle. So that is why I tell them, without all you, some of the things that I achieved, even going to Canada last, I couldn't achieve it because of all, because all the travel in my car, I make sure that I get the money to do what I have to do. So I decide I will give them back something.
Wonderful.
You understand? But the PNM and Lennox, some of these people who travel in my car, when I get them this offer, there's some people, when they're doing good to them, they're so being abused. They can't say thank you. You understand? Some of these people and them who believe in the PNM, they are being battered, bruised so long. I think somebody do what good to them. They can't say acknowledge it. Because of the mindset and the state of the PNM had this people and thinking for years. But I like the move that the Prime Minister making now. You see how she's stepping outside the box. She going out in the deep. She going out in different countries and getting investments to come into. I always was saying this how was that happening because she did it already in the past. And I like how she's standing firm this time. And she said the mistake that she made when she was Kamala 1.0, she's not going to make those mistakes again. You understand? So I just want to call in and say, Lennox Smith, you kind of inspire me to do better while I out there. I just tell people I want to be successful, but I also want to be different from the rest. I want to be able to start to think. I don't want to follow instruction, but I want to make sure that my brain opening up for me to think, for me to do something unusual, do something interesting, to inspire other people. Look, even Monday going to a pastor tell me I inspire him. But by what it is I doing by giving back to the community. He even pray for me before he leave my car kind of thing, because he said, first time he see a driver did something like this, give back the way how I give back to the people. And I have to say thanks to all here is and Cuff back in the day. Ole really inspire me to do better despite the noise that coming out from the society or the evil that taking place in the world. I always believe when they do good, they go come back at you. When they bless somebody today, that person who you bless, they can't expect them to bless say somebody else to bless say down the road. And I want God to smile on me because I want to help the people. So that's how I just reach out to them by just giving them back a little something. It doesn't be much, but I know you go pull a little hole here or there. Right, Lennox? So I just want to say, the Christmas season is coming closer. I hope that you and your family will continue to strive for excellence for betterment. And Trinidad and Tobago have to be the Dubai of the West, the Singapore of the West, the Netherlands of the West, all those great countries across Europe side and Asia side that are doing well. Trinidad and Tobago have to, in the name of Jesus, have to reach that standard. Too long we in the bottom of the ladder. We have to start to climb that ladder and climb it successfully now. Right, Lennox Smith? So I hope that you continue to enjoy your night and I continue locked on and listening on your program. Blessed night.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And of course, that was clearly a lesson in Stockholm Syndrome, where, of course, those persons who are being battered, the PNM was able, of course, to have them accept their circumstance. Believe that it's not the PNM that was doing them that. And then, of course, gravitated to the PNM to keep them in office. We saw that, of course, in 2020. That's a classic case of Stockholm Syndrome. Of course, the opposite is the case with respect, of course, to the people who perpetrated the capture. Then, of course, empathize with the captive. But that is called the Lima syndrome. But let's go to the line. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Lennox. This is Diego Martin.
Yes, man. Good night to you, my friend.
Season greeting to you and all your listeners and your family.
Yes, man.
All right. We're going down memory lane.
Yes.
I saw or read a nice piece done by a journalist called Shamin Babulal. I think it's all over the net. She was one of the founding journalists with the TNT Mirror, right? And the Mirror did all the pieces on Akil Chambers, etc., Sabga Report. Basically, they were under the skin of the PNM. And what has happened to the Mirror? We know what has happened. They were absorbed into a PNM outpiece called the Newsday, right?
Yes.
Her piece was very, very instructive and suggestive about what is happening with narco trafficking in Trinidad and Tobago. And she gave some clues, and if you put 2 and 2, you could get 4 like me. All right. One of the things she said, the narco trafficking with respect to distribution start with Trinidad and go up the island. They use all the islands as the go-to trace, the go-to track, go-to thing. And what she said in a piece, that when it comes to Trinidad and it's distributed, it goes to the Grenadines. When you hear the Grenadines, who you think about? You think about Ralph, right?
Yes.
And St. Vincent, right? Go back to 2023. There was arrest of a person who was found, a male, wanting with about 3,000 rounds of ammunition, some automatic weapons and things. And that person was in Tower 2. And who we know was in Tower 2? The thing about that person, I tried to find out who was the name. I searched all the newspaper article, but they didn't identify the male occupant. And I'm not casting any aspersion. We know that the man's son had an apartment there. We know they might have been renting some of the apartments. So I'm just saying there is might possibly an excess, right? Why they use the Grenadines is a small island too. Monos is a small island, and all of these. The characteristic and the traits of these islands are wealthy. They are not monitored. Police don't go there and things like that. So all kind of nefarious activities happen. So people have to understand that. You know, the PNM just try to deflect that when they come in power, crime goes up. But people have to look carefully at the homicide rate from 1995 to current, like 20 years. During 1995, you had the Pandey regime coming in. They had a major problem in 2001. There was the turmoil, there was the cap. And then, because they call ANR, he used a spiritual and moral, how should I say?
Value principle.
Right, to choose a government. When Pandey left office, and I'm going to put it in 2000, I'm not going to put in 2001 because the crime rate increased there. In 2000, basically was when they passed on everything to Manning, based on moral and spiritual value, it went up high. But in 2000, let us stick up in there. It was 118. In 2002, it shot up to 171. In 2005, it went to 386. 225% increase in homicide. You know the three data points for 2005?
Yeah.
You had the bride in her house burned down. You had the headless man. And you had the huge 1,700 and something kilos of cocaine. That incident was never really investigated. So during the 9 years, the PNM was it shot up, 386 is shot up to 620. You understand how the homicide rate?
Yeah.
The UNC came in 2010, and immediately the first year, it dropped down back to 83. They had a 2011 SOE, but they stabilized it down based on what was happening. During the Manning, it was going to 570, 577. That is in Martin Joseph. They bring it back to the 400s, 380, 400s. And we want to know why it wasn't as pronounced as we are seeing today. And I want to tell people, remember how the police, the TTPS was acting up at that point in time. They are policing. All of those contributed to mitigating a downward trend. The police was not doing any work. Fast forward to now. Now you have a police commissioner who is telling us he's doing the work on the ground and he's getting. Because we have a drop of 40%. That is a major um, crime reduction. And you have, I'm hearing he's saying crime is down significantly. Those two statistics tell us that the 2010-2015 was a learning curve for a UNC administration. Out of that and reflecting in the wilderness for the 10 years, they understood what they have to do and how quickly they have to do it. You have to remember at that point in time, over the last 10 years, no border security. The leadership of the defense force was all over the place, right? Those things. So what they do, they get rid of that and they put people who they believe understand what they want to achieve. They split up Minister of National Security. They choose 3 people who is awake. They don't have a sleeping rider horse fella to run the show. So you're seeing all this strategic direction is coming to play. Unlike a former commissioner of police who's called Gigi, his strategy was a mouth strategy, talking, and not delivering. And I've always said, look at his performance during a total lockdown. A total lockdown, it was down 383. What we are having now for 2025, the trajectory will be lower than when TG had a total lockdown. Nobody was moving for a couple of months well. So that tells you something is happening that is basically, the police commissioner said he had 156 of them under PDOs, detention orders.
Yes.
He said he's still looking for 56 of them. And what he equated to, he said that 90 that he has inside, there is a nexus to the drastic reduced in crime. When he gets hold of the other 60, we should see something provided. I see some other vehicles and resources given to the police. So they are clapping back, not only at the soldiers for the narco traffickers, but I suspect we're going to see Mr. Big and them being shook up. Something is happening, and the radar will tell us, because I see a fella by the name of a so-called expert, Dindial. He doesn't understand how a radar works, and he all over the place trying to tell people what is it as an expert. People must Google and see how the radar work. For example, just as education, find out how a satellite telephone system works. You understand? There are no cell towers there. They use the satellite to communicate. And that is what the radar system, they use sound waves and all sorts of technology. And they can mark out where you are. You understand? For example, if you have 2 iPhones and you pair them, you could find out anybody, any part of the world. It is that simple now with technology. You understand what I'm saying? So I like what I see. I like where we're going. And I know the PNM cannot clap back now. And I'm hoping that somebody tells me who was that gentleman on Tower 2 or Tower D in Victoria Keys who had all that ammunition. Why the newspaper did not put his name on? Once a man is arrested and charged, usually tell us, why are they keeping it quiet? I want to know if there's a nexus. Again, a little bit of history tonight.
Yes, my friend. Yes, my friend. Yes, my friend. A mouthful, a head full, of course, and an analytical full. But of course, we are nearing, of course, the completion of tonight's program. It is now, of course, 9:29. So we have just about 1 more minute. And if a call comes in during that period, certainly I will accommodate But I want to just draw a sort of a synopsis of what transpired tonight. Of the main topics being that of the situation and the pronouncement and the position of the Honorable Prime Minister, and the fact that whether it be by serendipity, whether it be by orchestration, or whether it be by natural consequence, the fact of the matter is that what we are seeing now unfolding before our very eyes are persons who were supposed to be in the upper echelons of the society, who of course would have been part of the recognized 1%. And here it is, we are seeing all kinds of scenarios unfolding on a daily basis because of the singular incident, and that is the presence of the Americans in the southern Caribbean Sea. So that the power that they would have wielded, whether it be in other islands, as indeed is Trinidad, is now being undermined. It's been undermined. And clearly, what we are also seeing is that that facade, that camouflage, that effort to demonstrate superiority is now being, I won't just say undermined, but it's being exposed to the point of being charlatans, quacks, and what we were being fed was an illusion by persons who were pretending to be upright and well-to-do citizens, and at the end of the day, having regard to the circumstances and the fact that the actions of the United States in the Southern Caribbean is now bringing to the fore those elements, and I expect that more will be revealed. More will be revealed, because they can no longer be protected by the PNM, who left in fallow all 11 Damien vessels, who left in fallow the security of our maritime borders, who left in fallow a proper and eclectic and therefore selective and due diligence process to allow Venezuelans to come into the country and to pick up residence, so to speak, with the approbation, the approval, the legitimacy projected of the PNM government. And I want to tell you in closing that that so-called registration of the Venezuelans that the PNM did is part of what I consider to be their idiosyncratic propensity to try to hoodwink and deceive when attention is being paid to their nefarious, evil, wicked, pernicious, and anti-Trinidad and Tobago conduct. What do I mean by that? I mean that is only when Rowley and they sent back to Venezuela on a military plane some 82 persons, some of whom were seeking asylum here in Trinidad, through the United Nations representative agency for that purpose. It was only after Rowley, when he came back from Chile and asked for the dismissal of the Secretary General of the OAS. It was only after the Rowley administration had joint military exercises with the Venezuelan Guardia Costa. It was only after the Rowley administration, and clearly getting instructions from Trinidad, Port of Spain, in votes in the OAS, the Organization of American States, when Mike Pompeo, the then Secretary of State, had asked all of Latin America and the Caribbean to fall in line and have one voice, a common voice, against the anti-democratic and, of course, the robust oppression of the people, the orchestrated oppression of the people of Venezuela. At the OS, when the vote was taken, whether to make an intervention that may be military or otherwise, Trinidad and Tobago at minimum abstained. It was under Rowley and only after he himself went to, as Prime Minister, to the United Nations and never indicated as to the human rights violations, as to the oppression and depression and the barbaric conduct of the Maduro administration against its own people, to the point where over 8 million migrated out of Venezuela and generating the instability that Trinidad and Tobago is not just a part of, but the neighboring countries, the repercussions of which are yet to be fully realized. But he went to the United Nations, he Rowley, and talked about sovereignty and talked about non-intervention and talked about a zone of peace. I say to you that the issues that the Americans are grappling with in the Southern Caribbean, and that we as Trinbagonians are grappling with as I speak, and therefore contemporarily, could have been resolved a long time ago. But it's only when that pernicious and anti-democratic, both in terms of Venezuela, in terms of, and of course in terms of Trinidad and Tobago, anti-democratic in the sense that a government is supposed to seek the interests of the people, and they were not. It's only then they were forced to appease the Americans by unfortunately opening the floodgates for any and every Venezuelan to come in. When they had the opportunity to be eclectic, when they had the opportunity to be selective, when they had the opportunity to be circumspect, and therefore devise a policy that will cause legitimate and bona fide refugees from Venezuela to come into Trinidad. Because they had the opportunity to take a piece of land, for example, in Caroni, and build a tent city and have them there until, of course, the crisis in Venezuela would have been subsided or eliminated. But they didn't do that. And that came as they opened up the border to any and every Venezuelan, including the gangsters and the criminals who are wreaking and contributing to the havoc that they themselves would have experienced between 2015 and the 28th of April 2025. And we cannot, of course, in that process and in that scenario, forget or in any way eliminate or in any way pretend that the trip of Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president of Venezuela, was not part of the scenario that triggered the attempt at appeasement of the Americans by opening the floodgates for any and every Venezuelan to enter Trinidad and Tobago. We cannot. I trust that you would do your own research and understand the chronology and the sequence of events that led to the situation we have today, where the Venezuelan intake is now part and parcel of the criminal class, so the criminal elements, and engaging, of course, in heinous, devious, and egregious crimes in the country. Too much not to be concerned. And indeed, the genesis of it, the genesis of all of that, would have been because of those not missteps, but asinine, self-serving, egotistic, arrogant, contemptuous, and no doubt, the expression of the Rowley administration, collectively and individually, as they displayed the most bizarre, the most egregious exhibition of not just high-handedness, not just contempt, not just inhumane, not just abuse of office and position, not just corruption in high places, but also because of the warped and the misplaced ideological position, but all with a flavor to disrupt and to self-serve and to line their pockets under the concept of nepotism, cronyism, and political favoritism. That is what transpired between 2015 and the 28th of April, 2025. So people, if you are yet to open your eyes, wipe the yampi from your eyes and take away the blinders, then I say to you, you are unpatriotic, and I say so unreservedly. Unpatriotic. And that you are treasonous and therefore guilty of the greatest degree of perfidiousness, betrayal of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. See you tomorrow night, Sunday, when we'll have, of course, a religious slant to our presentation, but nonetheless consistent with the revelation of the truth and nothing but the truth. Because once something is nestled in history, then truth cannot be dispelled, even though there are those who we call revisionists will try, of course, to hoodwink us and to take us to a different place, ironically. So people, of course, pleasant good night once again and all the best. See you tomorrow night. But of course, we have to go with I love this tune. And before we go as well, let me just boast about our football team. They are to play their first game tomorrow. The Love, of course, the Corridor Football Tournament, the DNA competition, which will be, I think they're having their first game at the next to the Hazy Crawford Stadium. I will not be there because I have to be here, but I would expect that they will have highlights of that exercise. And it has cost us, of course, a tooth and a nail, and of course, money that we do not have readily, but what we believe is a good investment, and therefore proper sacrifice. Here they are, as they practiced last night at the Barataria Savannah, and of course they will be on display. They will be on display. They will be on display tomorrow night next to the Hazy Crawford Stadium. We will be looking, as the tournament goes on, we will be inviting, of course, spectator support. So, support the boys, because it is about breaking down borderlines. It is about moving away from a life of crime. It is about, of course, ensuring that they do not gravitate to gang and gang warfare, whether it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It doesn't matter. That ought not to be. Here they are. Yes, indeed, people. I'm proud to be part and parcel of it. And of course, love is here. We call it the love team here on the corridor. But it is, of course, the United Brotherhood is what they call themselves, FC. But we say it's the love team. So there they are, young fellas. Instead of lining on the block, instead of getting themselves into problems and into gang warfare, and of course the reinforcement of the borderline issue, here it is that they have decided to expend the energy and for potential good developments and opportunities. Yes, indeed. Well, that being as it may, of course, let's go and complete. Like they want to come up for it. Yes, indeed. Let's go to Guyana and see how they celebrate Christmas like us.
Christmas morning, liming with my friends and family, greeting everyone around, eating, dancing, getting down, spending we Christmas in Guyana, watching all the little children running up and down, playing excitedly with their toys, making sure we get we share of curry, goat and rum, chocolate cards and dominoes with the boys. Yes, man. There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning. Everybody there soca dancing. Masquerade band coming down. Mother Sally prancing wrong. Spending we Christmas in Guyana. Merry Christmas!
Incidentally, people, of course, next week, the week coming up, I will be writing, of course, to Irfan Ali, the president of Guyana, of course, congratulating him formally on the victory of his party, and of course, looking for good relations having regard to, of course, the businesses that are based in Trinidad. We want to continue, of course, to look for opportunities in Guyana. After all, it is the fastest developing economy in the world. Over 8 to 14%, I believe, and climbing.
Ice apple and no sweetie.
Have a wonderful rest of the night, and see you, of course, tomorrow night on the Corridor Transformation. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas! Hey, Captain Paul, how black eye boy? Hey, sure? Merry Christmas, boy! Ho, ho, ho! Christmas come, Marco and them boys are wrong, drinking rum and telling old time story. Neville Pudan is the man, Christmas he does kill two rum, we eating long roti with chip curry. Not pepper, nothing like the home on Christmas morning. Good friends already gathering, eating lava meat well done, drinking wine and XM rum, spending we Christmas in Guyana.